My name's Alex Turner. I'm 36, and up until about a year ago, I thought I had marriage figured out. I'd been with my wife, Melissa, for 8 years, married for 5, and I honestly believe we were solid. Melissa was the kind of woman people instantly liked. She had this magnetic charm, the kind of laugh that made strangers turn their heads, and she could work a room like she was born for it. I'm not bad socially, but I'm more reserved. I work in tech consulting, which means a lot of hours staring at screens, and less at people. Melissa balanced me out, or so I thought. It started small. A few late nights here, a few girls' weekends there. Melissa's job as an event planner often meant she was out at odd hours, but lately her calendar seemed padded. There were client meetings that ran past midnight, and when I'd text her, I'd get delayed responses or generic "so busy" replies. The real gut punch came one Friday night. I'd been out with a buddy and came home earlier than expected. Melissa wasn't home yet. I figured she was at work, but when I called her, it went straight to voicemail. An hour later, she walked in, hair a little messy, makeup smudged, and with the faintest scent of cologne I didn't recognize. Not perfume, cologne. When I asked, she smiled like I was overreacting. God, Alex, we were working on a venue with no AC. It's probably just someone's deodorant lingering in the air. I wanted to believe her. I really did. So I let it go, outwardly. A month later, Melissa said she was working late again, this time at a downtown hotel where a high-profile corporate gala was being planned. Something in me, call it instinct, call it years of knowing her, told me to verify. I didn't confront her. Instead, I installed a small camera in the trunk of my car and offered to let her take it. That night, since hers was low on gas, the camera had a perfect view of the rear seats. That night, at around 11:47 p.m., my phone pinged with motion detection. I opened the feed, and there she was, Melissa, sliding into the passenger seat with someone who wasn't me. He was tall, broad-shouldered, maybe early 40s. They kissed like teenagers who didn't care about the world. And then they didn't drive to her event venue. They drove to his apartment. When Melissa came home at 3 a.m., I was awake, but I didn't say a word. I'd learned something about myself in that moment. Confrontation gets you excuses, maybe some tears, but rarely the truth. What I wanted wasn't just an admission. I wanted her caught. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done in front of people who believed she was a saint. So I pretended. The next morning, I acted distant but told her I wasn't angry, just tired of fighting over nothing. I trust you, I told her, with a smile that probably made the devil proud. She hugged me, relieved, and kissed me on the cheek. That's when I decided I'd give her enough rope to hang herself. Melissa's birthday was coming up in 3 months. She loved parties, so I told her I'd plan one, big, special. All her friends, her family, everyone who ever praised our perfect marriage. She lit up. Really? You'd do that for me? Of course, I said. You deserve it. I worked overtime on the party, booked a nice venue, hired catering, and even set up a giant projector for a surprise birthday montage. Melissa thought it was going to be a slideshow of her through the years. It was. At first, the place was packed. Her parents, her best friends, her co-workers. Melissa was glowing, wearing a red dress that turned heads. She kept touching my arm, telling people how lucky she was to have me. I smiled back like the doting husband everyone thought I was. After dinner, I dimmed the lights. All right, everyone, I said into Mike, I've made something special for Melissa. 8 years of memories, all the best moments we shared. The slideshow began, our wedding photos, vacations, family Christmases. People were laughing, clapping. Melissa was beaming. Then the footage shifted. The screen showed Melissa in my car, kissing a man from the hotel night. Then another clip, from 2 weeks later, of them walking into a different apartment. Then one of them in the hotel lobby, his hand on her lower back, her smiling up at him. The room went silent. Melissa froze, her wine glass halfway to her lips. I let the footage run. A few people gasped. Her best friend muttered, "Oh my God." Her mom covered her mouth. Melissa finally found her voice. "Alex, what is this?" I kept my tone even. your birthday surprise, the real memories you've been making. She started crying, looking around the room for anyone, to defend her. No one did, not even her sister. The man in the footage wasn't there. But by the end of the night, half the guests knew exactly who he was, her boss. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I just stood there, hands in my pockets, and let the silence do the damage. Finally, I said, "Happy birthday, Melissa," and walked out. The divorce was swift. My lawyer loved the footage, made the process clean and quick. Melissa moved out within a week, her reputation in ruins. Apparently, her boss's wife saw the footage too and filed for divorce herself. Sometimes, people ask me if I regret doing it so publicly. No, Melissa thrived on public image, on being admired. Exposing her privately would have let her control the story. This way, everyone saw the truth, unedited, undeniable. And the best part? She never saw it coming. Word spread faster than I imagined. By Monday morning, Melissa's perfect marriage persona was dead. Her phone must have been a war zone. Calls from friends, family, and her boss's wife. I didn't answer when she called me, and she stopped trying after the third attempt. Through mutual friends, I heard she'd been put on temporary leave from her job while the company investigated her conduct. It wasn't official firing, but let's just say she was never going back there. Meanwhile, my inbox was full, not with work, but with people thanking me. Literally thanking me for showing the footage. Turns out, Melissa had burned a few bridges over the years with her habit of flirting with married men and undermining other women. I was just the first person to bring receipts. I expected the divorce to be ugly, but when my lawyer filed, Melissa barely fought it. Maybe she knew there was no point. The footage was irrefutable, and I had timestamps, GPS data, and enough corroborating details to make sure no judge would ever believe her side of the story. We agreed to sell the house. I kept my car, my savings, and thanks to the prenup she once called unromantic, my retirement fund was untouched. She walked away with a small settlement and a mountain of humiliation. Here's something I didn't expect. Our social circle split right down the middle. Some people ghosted her immediately. Others claimed I had been too cruel and should have ended things privately. But the thing is, most of the people criticizing me weren't exactly unbiased. Many of them were part of her party crowd, the same ones who had probably seen her with a guy before I ever did. My closest friends stayed by me, though, and some of Melissa's ride-or-dies reached out privately to say they'd always suspected something was off. Melissa's fall from grace. 2 months later, someone sent me a screenshot of Melissa's new job, bartending at a local lounge. Nothing wrong with honest work, but for someone who used to post Instagram stories from black tie galas, it was a steep drop. She'd also gone silent online. No more inspirational marriage quotes. No more date night selfies. Just occasional pictures of wine glasses and vague captions about starting over. Rumor had it, her boss had moved to another city after his own divorce. They weren't together. Apparently, he'd ghosted her after the party. I'll admit, I wasn't completely okay right after it happened. Betrayal doesn't just bruise your pride. It makes you question everything. But strangely, I found a sense of closure in the fact that I chose the way it ended. I didn't let her control the narrative. I didn't have to wonder if she'd twist the truth later. She'd made her choices, and I'd made mine. About 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I took a solo trip to Italy, a place Melissa always said we'd go to someday. It was liberating. Walking down cobblestone streets with no one asking me to pose for a couple selfies just for social media clout. 8 months after the party, I ran into Melissa at a grocery store. She looked smaller, not physically, but in presence. No designer bag, no perfectly styled hair. She was in sweats with dark circles under her eyes. She froze when she saw me, then gave me a half smile. "Alex," she said softly, "you really blindsided me that night." I met her eyes and said, "No, Melissa, you blindsided me. I just made sure the lights were on when you did it." She didn't reply, just walked away. Sometimes I replay that night in my head. Not because I regret it, but because it taught me something. Forgiveness isn't owed. And sometimes the best revenge isn't yelling or slamming doors. It's letting someone think they've gotten away with it until you show the whole world exactly who they are. And as for me, I've started dating again. Carefully, slowly. But this time, I know exactly what red flags to watch for. Because once you've seen betrayal in full high definition, you can never mistake it for love again.